All right, we're diving right into Stargirl Chapter 31. Let's get reading. As she had predicted, I did not ask her to the Octilio ball. I did not ask anyone. I did not go. She did. The ball took place on a Saturday night late in May on a tennis courts of the Micah Country Club. When sunset was down to a faintly glowing ember in the west and the moon rose in the east, I went forth on my bicycle. I coasted by the club, festooned with Cantonese lanterns. The ball in the distance looked like a cruise ship at sea. I cannot identify individuals, only strings of color. Much of it was powder blue. The day after Wayne Parr said he had chosen powder blue for his dinner jacket, 3/4 of the boys ordered the same from Tuxedo Junction. Back and forth I cruised in the night beyond the lights. Music reached my ears as random peeps. The desert flowers, so abundant in April, were dying now. I had the notion that they were calling to each other. I cruised for hours. The moon rose in the sky like a lost balloon. Somewhere in the dark shapes of the Maricopas, a coyote howled. In the days and weeks and years that followed, everyone agreed they had never seen anything like it. She arrived in a bicycle sidecar, just big enough for her to sit in. The sidecar had a single outboard wheel. The inboard side was braced to the bike. Everything but the seat of the bike and the sideboard bench were covered in flowers. A 10-foot blanket of flowers trailed her rear fender like a bridal train. Palm fronds flared up from the handlebars. It looked like a float in a rose parade. Dory Dilson pedaled the bicycle. Eyewitnesses later filled in what I could not see. Parents, cameras flashing, floodlights making a second day, the gorgeous couples disembarked from limos and borrowed convertibles promenade to festive courts. Showers of applause. Suddenly, the flashing stops. The floodlights dim. A hush falls over the crowd as a particularly long white limo rolls away from the entrance. Here comes this three-wheeled bouquet. The driver, Dory Dilson, wears a tailored white tuxedo and tall silk hat, but it's her passenger who rivets the crowd. Her strapless gown is a bright, rich yellow, as if pressed from buttercups. There must have been one of those hooped contraptions underneath, for the skirt billows outward from her waist like an upside-down teacup. Her hair is incredible. Descriptions clash. Some say it's the color of honey, some say strawberries. It fluffs like a mergine high upon her head. It's a wig. No, it's all hers. Both sides are certain. Earrings dangle. They're little silver somethings. But what? They are partly obscured by falling ringlets. Many answers are offered, but most popular is Monopoly pieces, but this will prove to be wrong. From a rawhide string around her neck dangles a white, inch-long, banana-shaped fossil, identifying her as in good standing of the Royal Order of the Stonebone. While others wear orchids, the corsage in her wrist is a small sunflower. Or a huge black-eyed Susan, or some sort of a daisy. No one is sure except that the colors are yellow and black. Before proceeding, she turns back to the bicycle and bends over a small basket hanging from the handlebars. The basket, too, is covered with flowers. She appears to kiss something in it. Then she waves to Dory Dilson. Dory salutes and pulls the bicycle away. People nearby catch a glimpse of a tiny cinnamon-colored ears and two peppercorn eyes peering out of the basket. Beautiful, unusual, interesting, different, regal. These words will come later from parents lining the walk. For now, they're only stares as she makes her way from the entrance to the ball. Someone recalls a singer camera flashing, but that's not all. She is no one's child. She's the girl they've heard about. As she passes by, she makes no attempt to avoid their eyes. On the contrary, she looks directly at them, turning to one side, then the other, looking into their eyes and smiling as if she knows them, as if they had shared grand and special things. Some turn aside, uneasy to find a way that you cannot account for. Others feel suddenly empty when her eyes leave theirs. So distracting, so complete, is that she is gone before many realize she has no escort. She was alone, a parade of one. Perched on my bike in the distance, I remember looking up and seeing the torrent of stars we call the Milky Way. I remember wondering if she would see them, too, or if they were lost in the light of lanterns. The dancing took place in the center tennis court, which had been covered with a portable parquet floor. She did what everyone else did at the ball. She danced to the music of Guy Greco and the Serenaders, and she danced the slow dances and the fast ones. She spread her arms wide and threw back her head and closed her eyes and gave every impression of thoroughly enjoying herself. They did not speak to her, of course, but they could not help looking over the shoulders of their dates. She clapped at the end of each number. She's alone, they kept telling themselves. Surely as she's dancing in no one's arms, yet somehow that seemed to matter less and less. As the night went on, the clarinet and coyote call mingled beyond the lantern night. The magic of their own powder blue jackets and orchids seemed to fade, and it came to them in small sensations that they were all more alone than she was. Who was the first to crack? No one knows. Did someone brush up against her at the punch table? Pluck a petal from her flower? Or one was missing? Whisper, "Hi!" This much is certain. A boy named Raymond Studemacher danced with her. To the student body at large, Raymond Studemacher did not have enough substance to trigger the opening of this supermarket door. He belonged to no team or organization. He took no part in school activities. His grades were ordinary. His clothing was ordinary. His face was ordinary. He had no detectable personality. Thin as a minute, he appeared to lack the heft to carry his own name. And in fact, when all eyes turned to him on the dance floor, those few who came up with the name for him frowned at his white jacket and whispered, "Raymond something." And yet there he was, Raymond something, walking right up to her. And it came out later that his date had suggested it, and speaking to her, and then they were dancing. Couples scared themselves to get a better look. At the end of the number, he joined in her clapping and returned to his date. He told her the silver earrings looked like little trucks. Tension rose. Boys got antsy. Girls picked at their corsages. The ice shattered. Several boys broke from their dates. They were heading her way and walked up to Guy Greco and said something to him. Guy Greco turned to the Serenaders. The baton flashed, and out came the sounds of that old teen dance standard, the bunny hop. Within seconds, a long line was snaking across the dance floor. Stargirl led the way, and suddenly it was December again, and she had the school in her spell. Almost every couple joined in. Hillary Kimball and Wayne Parr did not. The line curled back and forth across the netless tennis courts. Stargirl began to improvise. She flung her arms for a make-believe crowd like a celebrity on a parade. She waggled her fingers at the stars. She churned her fist like an egg beater. Every action echoed down the line behind her. The three hops of the bunny became the three struts of a vaudeville vamp. Then a penguin waddle. Then tippy-toed priss. Every new move brought new laughter from the line. When Guy Greco ended the music, howls of protest greeted him. He restruck the downbeat. To delighted squeals, Stargirl led them off the parquet dance floor onto the other tennis courts, and then through the chain-link fence and off the tennis courts altogether. Red carnations and wrist corsages flashed as the headline as the line headed into the practice putting green at the golf course. The line doodled around the holes, in and out of the side pools of lantern light. From the dance floor, it seemed to be more than it was. 100 couples, 200 people, 400 legs seemed to be a single festive, flowery creature, a fabulous millipede. And then there was less and less to see as the head vanished and the rest curled to the fringe of the light and followed, like the tail of a powder blue dragon, into the darkness. One girl in chiffon had a tiff with her date and ran off toward the first tee, calling, "Wait for me!" She looked like a huge mint green moth. Their voices came in clearly to the golf course. The laughing and yelping made a raucous counterpoint to the metronomic talk, talk, talk of the bunny's never-ending hop. Once, into the light of the quarter moon, they appeared in silhouette on a doomed, distant green, like figures dancing in someone's dream. And then, quite suddenly, they were gone, as if the dreamer had awakened. Nothing to see, nothing to hear. Someone called, "Hey!" after them. But that was not all. But that was all. It was according to those left behind, like waiting for a driver in return to the surface. Hillary Kimball, for once, did not share that feeling. "I came here to dance," she declared. She pulled Wayne Parr along and got the bandstand demanded regular music. Guy Greco tilted his head to listen, but the baton did not stop, neither did the band. In fact, as the minutes went by, the music still seemed to be becoming louder. Maybe it was an illusion. Maybe the band felt a connection to the dancers. Maybe the farther the line sprung into the night, the louder the band had to play. Maybe the music was a tether or a kite string. Hillary Kimball dragged Wayne Parr out to the middle of the parquet floor. They slow danced. They fast danced. They even tried an old-fashioned jitterbug. Nothing worked. Nothing went with the triple thumping drum beat but the bunny hop itself. Hillary's orchid shed petals as she beat her fist on Wayne Parr's chest. "Do something!" she yelled. She ripped sticks of chewing gum from his pocket. She chewed them furiously. The spit in the wad pressed the gum into her ears. The band played on. Afterward, there were many different guesses of how long the bunny hoppers were actually gone. Everyone agreed that it seemed to be hours. Students stood under the last line of lanterns, their fingers curling through the plastic-coated wire of the fence, peering into the vast darkness, straining for a glimpse, a scrap of sound. All they heard was the call of a coyote. A boy dashed wildly into the darkness. He sauntered back, his blue jacket over his shoulder, laughing. A girl with glitter in her hair shivered. Her bare shoulders shook as if she were cold. She began to cry. Hillary Kimball stalked along the fence, clenching the unclenching of her fists. She could not seem to stand still. When the call finally came, "They're back!" It was from a lone watcher at the far end. 100 kids, only Hillary Kimball stayed behind, turned and raced down 8 tennis courts, pastel skirts flapping like stampeding flamingos. The fence buckled outward as they slammed into it. They strained to see. Light barely trickled over the crusted earth beyond the fence. This was the desert side. Where? Where? And then you could hear whoops and yahoos out there, somewhere clashing with the music. And then, where? A flash of yellow, Stargirl leaping from the shadows. The rest followed out of the darkness. A long, powder blue, many-headed thing. Hop, hop, hop. They were still smack on the beat. If anything, they seemed to be energized than before. They were fresh. Their eyes sparkled in the lantern light. Many of the girls wore browning, half-dead flowers in their hair.